Members, moving to file item number 81, Senate Bill 282. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 282 by Senator Hernandez, enacting into healthcare coverage.
Mr. Santiago, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. SB 282 would remove roadblocks to electronic prior authorization of prescriptions by determining the use of innovative technology to transmit prior authorization requests. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Santiago. Seeing no discussion or debate on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 66, no 0. Measure passes. Mr. Holden, you are recognized for your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request unanimous consent to suspend Assembly Rule 69 and allow authors to take up late amendments to the following bills. File Item 110, Senate Bill 387 Jackson by Stone. File Item 117, Senate Bill 350 De Leon by Williams. File Item 141, Senate Bill 643 McGuire by Bonta. File Item 145, Senate Bill 588 De Leon by Stone.
Without objection, that request is granted.
Mr. Speaker, I request unanimous consent to rescind the action whereby amendments to Senate Bill 178 Leno were adopted today and allow Mr. Obernolte to take up the revised amendments. The revision simply removes a co-author.
Clerk will note.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Members, is there any objection to granting Mr. Lackey unanimous consent for reconsideration on file item 50, Senate Bill 175? Seeing and hearing none, reconsideration is granted. Okay, members, we are going to take up file item 106. File item 106, Senate Bill 178. This is for the purpose of amendments.
Yeah, the action was previously rescinded.
Members, we rescinded the amendments that we previously adopted. We are going to be taking up file item 106, Senate Bill 178. Clerk will read with amendments.
Senate Bill 178 with amendments by Assemblymember Obernolte.
Mr. Obernolte on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, On behalf of Senator Leno, I've introduced amendments to SB 178. These amendments are identical to the amendments that we approved earlier today, with the exception of a change to the list of co-authors. I respectfully request that the amendments be adopted and the bill be put out to print and back on file.
Thank you, Mr. Obernolte. Without objection, we may take a voice vote on these amendments. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Bill is out to print and back on file. Members, we are at file item 110, Senate Bill 387. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 387 with amendments by Assemblymember Stone.
Mr. Stone on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. This is the annual bar dues bill. This year, for the first time, we've made some dramatic steps in managing in our relationship with the state bar. We've included an audit, which will be performed next year, and we're subjecting the bar to Bagley-Keene and the Public Records Act request, which is the same standard for every other public agency. In negotiating with Senate Judiciary, the Chief Justice, and the State Bar, these amendments adjust some of the concerns that were raised through that process, clean up the language. So I ask for your support on these amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Stone. Without objection, we may take a voice vote on the amendments. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Amendments are adopted. Bill is out to print and back on file. We're at file item 117, SB 350. For the purpose of amendments, clerk will read with amendments.
Senate Bill 350 with amendments by Assemblymember Williams.
Members, these amendments do four things. First, they make the changes to the RPS provisions of the bill to provide greater flexibility for utilities to procure renewable energy at the most affordable manner possible. This brings now all four major IOUs, PG&E, SCE, SDG&E, and SEMPRA, are all in support of Senate Bill 350 now. Second, they make changes to the transportation, electrification, and energy efficiency provisions of the bill. These changes also are supported by IOUs and others, including ChargePoint. Third, they add in to the bill a new provision requested by the administration to create an integrated resource planning process at the CPUC and CEC to ensure energy company portfolios reduce greenhouse gases. This is similar to what our colleague from Hayward has been talking about for several years. And last, they make a series of changes to protect ratepayers from cost shifts due to departing load. These amendments are supported by both the utilities and the CCAs. These amendments do not yet address the petroleum reduction provisions of the bill, which are still under discussion between the pro tem, the Speaker, the Governor, and the membership of this House. I ask for your aye vote on amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Ms. Waldron, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We oppose these amendments.
Thank you, Ms. Waldron. This will be a roll call vote on the amendments. Members, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Requires a majority of those present and voting. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 37, noes 25. Amendments are adopted. Bill is out to print and back on file. File item 141, Senate Bill 643. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 643 with amendments by Assemblymember Bonta.
Mr. Bonta on the amendment. I'm sorry. Mr. Bonta on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I rise to present amendments to SB 643. The amendments are technical in nature and allow the parties to continue the conversation in creating a comprehensive framework for medical cannabis regulation in the state of California. I request that these amendments be sent out to print and placed back on file. I respectfully ask for your aye vote, members.
Thank you, Mr. Bonta. Without objection, we may take a voice vote on these amendments. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Amendments are adopted. Bill is out to print. Back on file. File item 145. Senate Bill 588 for the purpose of amendments. Clerk will read with amendments.
Senate Bill 588 with amendments by Assemblymember Stone.
Mr. Stone on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On these amendments, the author is working with opposition as issues have been raised. These amendments essentially deal with long-term care employers. I ask for your support of the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Stone. Without objection, we may take a voice vote on the amendments. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Bill is out to print and back on file. Members, we are moving to file item 153. That's Senate Bill 209 for the purpose of amendments. Clerk will read with amendments.
Senate Bill 209 with amendments by Assemblymember Williams.
Mr. Williams on the amendments.
Members, I'm taking up Senate Bill 209 for the purpose of amendments. These amendments allow for large mine operators to self-insure for up to 75% of the cost of reclamation of each of their mines. It provides more regulatory flexibility to small sand and gravel mines owned and operated by local governments, clarifies that local governments can inspect their own mines, and fourth, eliminates conflicts with AB 1142 by conforming the overlapping provisions in Senate Bill 209 to AB 1142. I ask for your aye vote on amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Without objection, we may take a voice vote on these amendments. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Bill is out to print and back on file. One additional item. Mr. Williams, you may open. This is file item 91, Senate Bill 758. Clerk will read.
Senate Bill 758 by Assemblymember Block, Senator Block, enacting the climate change.
Mr. Williams.
Members, appreciate your patience, and you don't normally see my face this often on a session. I rise in support presenting Senate Bill 758 by Block. This bill would make sure that we measure to better understand and forecast precipitation patterns to provide a science-based approach to water collection and flood control in the state. It requires the Department of Water Resources to research how to improve forecasting and to understand the causes and impacts of climate change on atmospheric rivers. Additionally, this requires DWR to take all actions within its existing authority to capture water generated by atmospheric rivers to increase the supply of water resources and to increase flood protection. Atmospheric rivers, if you haven't heard of them, are a weather phenomena responsible for 30 to 50% of California's precipitation and water supply in just a handful of days each year. These are what you hear about when you hear Pineapple Express storms. Despite the significant role they play in California's water supply, they are not sufficiently understood, and we can do better, members. I requestfully ask an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Seeing no discussion on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 60, no 0. Measure passes. Pursuant to Assembly Rule 77.2, I am re-referring Senate Bill 643 to the Business and Professions Committee. There's no consent calendar today, members. We are moving to announcements and adjournments in memory. Members, if we could have your respectful attention. We are at adjournments in memory. Please take your seats. Members, please direct your attention to Mr. Nazarian. Mr. Nazarian, you are recognized. Members.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the Armenian Legislative Caucus, I rise to adjourn in the memory of Yevnige Salibyan, who passed this past Sunday at the age of 101 years young. Ms. Salibyan, a survivor of the Armenian genocide, was to be recognized in these very chambers this past April during our centennial commemoration of the Armenian genocide. Unfortunately, she was unable to join us in Sacramento. But I had the privilege of honoring her in a special ceremony following our assembly commemoration in Los Angeles with Mayor Garcetti and Councilman Paul Krikorian. At the tender age of 7, Yevnige witnessed the horrors of the genocide as she saw families being forced into death marches. She, along with her family, were fortunate enough to flee their village of Aintab, Turkey, in a 2-horse carriage. Yevnige and her family took refuge in Syria, then Lebanon, where Yevnige met her future husband. They both worked together in Lebanon, helping surviving orphans who had been left blind, deaf, or crippled from the genocide. She was a woman with strong religious belief. As the last of the remaining survivors pass, it is imperative now more than ever that the oppressors of this atrocity come to grips with their past. Let us honor the memory of Yevnige and the victims of all the survivors of the Armenian genocide. We commemorate and strive for recognition so that their deaths are not in vain and their memories are honored. She is survived by 43 descendants, 5 children, 11 grandchildren, 24 great-grandchildren, and 3 great-great-grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nazarian. Members, we have one committee hearing scheduled today in the second extraordinary session. The Committee on Finance will meet upon adjournment of session in room 4202. That is the Committee on Finance in the second extraordinary session will be meeting upon adjournment in room 4202. The session schedule is as follows: Monday, September 7th, Labor Day holiday. Tuesday, September 8th, floor session at noon. All other items remaining will be passed and retained. All motions shall be continued. Seeing and hearing no further business, I'm ready to entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Holden moves and Ms. Waldron seconds that this House stands adjourned until Tuesday, September 8th at noon. Quorum call is lifted.